I have not questions. I get it, but I do wonder what the lay of the land is with the starting rotation. Obviously, they did not get Corbin Burns. There are other names out there. They had been tied last week to Jack Flaherty. I actually didn't buy that. I really don't think the Giants are going to go after Flaherty. I don't think that's a good fit. One thing I've really noticed with Buster is going to be about who's going to play well, but also who is the person now. Who's the player that we're bringing into this clubhouse? Buster might go down as one of the great clubhouse people of all time. I think he values it. And so you're not going to see Jock Petersons and people like that coming to the team anymore. So clearly Justin fits that. They've already said they want Roki Sasaki. So does everybody else. They've been named as a team on the list. I certainly wouldn't put them in a favorite category there. That's probably more like the Dodgers or the Padres. But what does the starting rotation look like? Like, what do you know if you're the Giants? Verlander's now in it, but he's 42. So I don't know what are you expecting every 5 days? There's Logan Webb. You're expecting Robbie Ray to be healthy and himself.
Right.
You've got
Birdsong.
You've got Kyle Harrison. You've got Birdsong. You might be able to Jordan Hicks, they say we're going to put back as a starter. You've got other young starters in the mix. But in a world of 2024 baseball, 2025, I should say now, where guys do not pitch deep into games, injuries are happening, whether it's a six-man rotation, a starter, whatever. I think you need more.
Agreed.
I think you need one more.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And you look at last year, and you had Logan Webb start 33, which is to say he started every fifth day. End of list of guys who started every fifth day. You had Harrison start 24, then you get to Hicks and Snell 20 apiece, and then you get all into the guys in the teens, Birdsong and Wynn, and I'll spare you all the openers that they had. Robbie Ray started 7 games. Landon Roop started 4. You get the point. Last year you had really 2 starters. You had Webb and you had Harrison, even though Harrison missed, it looks like 9 turns. So you really had one main starter, and then you had Harrison, and you had Hicks early on, and then you had to kind of shut him down because of his innings limit. Yep. And then Blake Snell was, I'm not ready, and then he basically went Devondre Campbell on you over the last week of the year. So, yeah, I'm here for it, Mark. I'm here for a team that has 5 or 6 guys who are starting pitchers. And you're not going to get Verlander to throw 200 innings. Can you get Verlander to throw 120 innings? Can he get you 20 starts?
Yeah. I mean, he threw 90 innings last year. He threw 90.
Right.
But the year before that, he threw 162, and his ERA was 3.2, and he won 13 games. My question, if I were sitting in front of Buster right now, I'd be like, do you think that he was dealing with something last year? Like, was there an injury? Because the scary part is the number. He was a negative WAR player last year.
Yeah.
So the scary part there when someone's about to turn 42 is you're like, did he just hit a wall? And clearly they don't think so. So, look. And
again, if it's a one-year deal.
It's a one-year deal.
And I'm sure it's not for more than probably $5 million.
I'd bet it's more than that.
Okay, whatever.
I don't know.
Well, whatever the number is, it's not so big that it's going to scare you for the future. And last year you mentioned
for sure not.
Negative WAR. His career WAR is 81. And last year he was a negative 0.3. So for the first time in his career, he was negative WAR. And if he comes out and he's not very good through 4 or 5 starts, it's okay to say, thank you, Justin, and we'll see you at Cooperstown.
Yeah, I don't think that's I get what you're saying.
He gets more than 4 or 5 starts, but you get my point.
Yes, that'd be disastrous if your free agent pitcher came in and only had 5 starts and then you wanted to get rid of him. But that's all I'm getting at. Like, they've got other young options that no one wants to hear about, and maybe someone will pop. There's Tristan Beck, and there's other people who are Landon Roop. You mentioned there's other people who are going to have a say here, but I'm sort of, in today's baseball, I'm of the mind of you almost need 9 or 10 starting options when you go into a season. And if one of them is 42 years old, I sort of look at that as like, That's about 3/4 of a starter, even if I'm being optimistic. Like your point.
Probably half a starter.
I'm not
right?
thinking 30 starts.
Right.
You're thinking maybe 20. 25 if this goes really well. But as recently as 2023, this was a very, very good pitcher still in the bigs. And like you said, now he gets to go to a pitcher's park. But, I think the Giants are probably still interested in one more. And we know. Buster has been very open. Roki Sasaki, we're in. We would love to have him, and he's not going to cost a whole lot. So I think dollars and cents are a part of this too. I hate that part of it. But I don't think the Giants were actually, from what I understand, I don't think they were as far in on Corbin Burnes as we were all told that they were. I don't think they were going to spend that. And this is a cheaper way to go about it. Obviously, you don't get the player who's as good either. But there's nothing. I don't think that there's any downside to it in this moment.
Agreed. And I look at last year, and they had 16 different starting pitchers. 16. And a lot of that is because you went with an opener for many, many spots. And so of the 16 guys who actually started games, 9 of them or 8 of them were openers. And so if you can eliminate that or make that, of all the starts you have throughout the course of a year, if you can have an opener just take up, 1/5 of the starts, that would be better. And then of the other 4 remaining spots, you have, Webb and Harrison, and you've got, real Birdsong, and you've got guys who you can pen in and say, you're starting. And then the rest of it is, okay, you're hurt, we need an opener, or maybe it's Hicks for a while. And like you're saying, Keaton Wynn, a guy who showed some signs last year in 12 starts. I just look at a team last year with 16 starting pitchers, and I think if you start that many guys, you don't have a real staff.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely, and obviously it means that some things didn't go right, and all of that. But I think that's why people have this sort of at least immediate or inherent trust of Buster Posey. It's not that we all think that he knows exactly how to make all these transactions. He's brand new, and he's surrounding himself with people. But I think that most Giants fans look at this right now and go, Buster's going to build a roster intuitively that is the baseball that we know. Like that turn and burn stuff is just a huge turnoff.
Yeah.
It's just a huge turnoff. You're never going to get anybody. Remember when Buster sat down and the first thing he said at his introductory press conference was, this is about making memories. Well, you don't make memories when you can't even remember who the players are.
Yeah.
And so that, I think, is at the core of what they're going to try to do. So you're going to get more people who it's like that's their position, and that's what we expect when we come to the ballpark, that they're going to be out there at their position. I also think the timing of this is incredibly important. Last year and in years past, this got to be a little bit triggering that we would start getting to February and pitchers and catchers are reporting and spring training is starting and all these big names are still sitting out there. And then Blake Snell comes in and then he's not ready for the start. All of that junk, like it was clear coming out of the holidays. I thought Giants need to be in the news. They need to be in the news in the first week of January. And so at least you have this. I don't think they're done. There needs to be more. There needs to be a trade. There needs to be a first baseman. I do not think that first baseman is Pete Alonso. I think there needs to be some creativity here, and it needs to happen in the month of January. I do not want to see all of this moving and shaking and meetings with Scott Boras while there are already people practicing down on the field in Scottsdale.
Agreed, and I don't think that Buster wants that either, and so this signing comes early in January, and the one thing that makes me a little bit hesitant is the idea of Buster being out there and trying to bring in guys who he played against. And Verlander is 5 years older than Buster, just to give you some perspective on, how young Buster is and how old Verlander is. So as long as Buster doesn't go hunting for guys that he played against, I remember you. I played against you 12 years ago. Come on in. I do think this is a one-off, but hopefully this is not the end of what they're trying to do here in the offseason.
Yeah, I definitely hope not. And I really do think, I do not think that Lamont Wade and Wilmer Flores are platooning at first base this year. That cannot be what they do.
And this can't be your rotation, right? I mean, you bring in Verlander, and he's not your 2, and I hope he's not your 3. He might be your 4, but for me, I look at a rotation that still needs maybe not a big boy, but you still need one more legitimate, I can get you 30 starts a year arm, in my opinion.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
But we're running out of arms.
Yeah,
right?
well, I just think it's time to start getting creative. Like, it's not going to just be throw money at people, because I think the throw money at people guys are gone. Like, that's who Corbin Burns was. That's who Max Fried was. That's the throw money at people stuff. Now you're getting short-term deal, Justin Verlander. Obviously, there's Sasaki. That's not expensive, but it's unlikely. I just think both at the pitcher spot, starting pitcher spot, and at first base, you're going to need to get creative, and it might be transactions. It might be trades. I look at someone more like Andrew Vaughn, the first baseman with the White Sox, who's only 26 years old, who has hit 15 home runs or north every year in his career. Like, that's someone that I would look at. And the White Sox are trading everybody, so that's a phone call I would make. Andrew Vaughn went to Cal. We know that they love the local guys. So that kind of stuff needs to come, and I'd love to see that start happening here in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, and if you're looking for other starting pitchers that Buster Posey has played against, Clayton Kershaw is out there. Max Scherzer is a free agent. Lance Lynn, other guys who are about Buster's age. So as we're looking for a team, as you mentioned at the top of the segment, Warriors getting older, Niners getting older, and the Giants hold my beer.
Well, yeah,
there's still some more older guys out there that Buster
I don't want
can
too
get.
many of those dudes, though.
I get it.
I think one is fine.
Yeah.
You don't need to bring in Max Scherzer and Clayton Kershaw.
And Lance Lynn, he's out there.
Yeah.
Wade Miley's 38. He fits. Carlos Carrasco, 38.
I would love to see them get on the phone with the Seattle Mariners. That's what I would love to see.
That's what Farhan did.
Well,
he was always on the phone with the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah, but they got Luis Castillo.
Yeah.
That's if you want to go do something to really add to your rotation, that's where I would go next. And I do think that it is time for the Giants to start leveraging. Look, their farm system is now considered very weak again, but I would look at what they do have is a bunch of arms that right now people are high on. In the next couple of years, I might give a couple of them up and place the bet that they're not going to be as great as you think they're going to be, because we get fed that every year.
Right.
And to me, that's the mark of a bad organization. I watched the San Diego do this to Padres fans for 15 years. Wait till you see this guy. Wait till you see this guy. Well, here he is, and he's mid. Right? Kyle Harrison, we're way too early to write him off, but that was not necessarily the year that I think people were hoping for. And the Luciano thing, give me a break. I'm not going to move on from all these guys yet. Luis Matos just won Rookie of the Year in the Winter League.
Nice.
That's awesome. He's been playing great down there. But some of these guys, like the Luciano thing, this is a tale to keep in the back of your mind. When you have that hot prospect, if you decide to hold on to him a little too long, and then he shows the world that he's not what you think he's going to be, well, there goes his value. There goes his value. If you had traded Luciano a year and a half ago, you could have gotten something real established. So these starters that are sitting there at Double and Triple A, whatever your internal debate is, strike while the unknown is still a weapon.
Well, it just depends because, and I was thinking just as you were explaining that about Jonathan Kuminga as an example, because Kuminga's stock this year went down and then up and then down and then way up, and then now it's kind of down again due to injury. So basketball different than baseball, but Bryce Eldridge is another one where all we all want to talk about is, man, what a slugger. And he could be, should be, might be, would be, maybe he isn't. We don't really know. But when it comes to pitching, like Carson Whisenhunt is a name that we've all thrown out, and man, that changeup, and boy, can he pitch. And, you may be right. So that might be a piece that you're talking about as far as, leverage it now.
Maybe.
When you've got, if you do have pitchers ahead of him under team control, and maybe his development's going to be slowed based on that fact, he might become more expendable based on what you already have at the big club.
Maybe. The problem is when somebody's at the height of that sort of like rise through like it makes you sick to your stomach, the idea of trading them. I don't think that they'll even entertain something for Bryce Eldridge right now.
Well, Zach Wheeler is a great example.
Yeah.
Where you got
you can get burned.
Months. You got a rental. You got a 2-month rental, and he turned out to be really, really good and continues to be really good. But the other name you threw out is Pete Alonso, and the more I read about his free agency, it might be kind of a tweener year for him where he's willing to take a short-term deal somewhere.
Yeah, but I just don't think he's fit. He's a bad defensive player. He's just a bad defensive player.
Oh, but a slugger.
Yeah, hell yeah. No, okay.
DH him.
Okay, yeah. You could do that. You could do that.
And you need a DH, really.
Yeah, I don't hate that idea, but I don't know if Pete in a free agent year wants to not play defense anymore, but he's just not very good out there. But yeah, I wouldn't hate it if he was the DH. I think he's going to end up staying with the Mets, but we'll see. I'm glad they're making news. I'm glad they're doing something.
Yeah.
Because that's one of my big things this offseason, and this isn't even just for the Giants. This is for baseball, which really needs to totally rework its free agency because you get everybody to a party. This is like having everybody come over to the party. It starts at 8. We all get there fashionably late at 8:30, and you're like, all right, the party's going to start in a week. I'm glad you're here. Everybody sit down. The party's going to start in a week. And then a week goes by, and you're like, actually, it might be one more week, but stay right here. Are you having fun? No, we're not having fun. Watch the other sports. Free agency hits, boom. And Twitter goes bananas for 7 days. And then it's great. And it's literally part of the entertainment. And baseball's lost that completely.
Well, it used to be the hot stove. And now it's completely the not stove.
Yeah.
Because winter meetings, watch out. Winter meetings is when it's all going to happen. And you get a few of the big ones to happen. And then the whole thing becomes like my kitchen sink, which is just an annoying ongoing drip.
Ooh.
Yeah, I got someone coming over tomorrow, but it's a problem. And it's just like, boop, and that's baseball free agency, boop. Like every 8 seconds you get a drip, and it's like, no, I want a faucet. I want a fire hose. Football, basketball, 3 days of just, oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. They need to do that. 888-957-9570 if you want to weigh in on anything. Terrell Owens is expected here in just about 10 minutes. We're excited to have him in studio today. I don't want to completely depart from this because we've promised it a couple of times, and I think it's worth reacting to. So yesterday, I'll just sort of summarize what Brock Purdy sat at his locker and said, which was, if there's an extension on the table, it's important to me to get this done early. I don't want this to drag. And we sat here and went, bravo. This is good leadership. He's right. I think he's pointing to the last 2 off seasons where contract stuff really became dramatic and got drawn out and negative for the team. Ross Tucker joined Steiny and Goo earlier today with maybe a little bit of a different spin on how he read the Brock Purdy comments. Take a listen.
He's already kind of putting it out there and bowing up on the Niners a little bit, saying, because is he going to skip the mandatory minicamp? Is he going to skip training camp? And then they could fine him? He is under contract. So I thought that was very, very telling that Brock is already putting that out there, that he wants it done or else he's not going to attend the OTAs, even though he's under contract.
Okay. I'll add this. Ross read it that way, and I don't find that to be that dramatic because, correct me if you see this differently, I assumed that from the beginning.
Right.
Brock Purdy is not putting a uniform on again without an extension.
He's got until April when voluntary workouts begin.
I assumed that, and I could be totally wrong. But if I was Brock Purdy, I'm not putting one cleat on until there's an extension signed.
Yeah, and I don't know if he said it definitively or not. He just kind of hinted at it and intimated that. And, it's easy now in January in an exit interview to kind of slow play it. But I'm with you, Mark. Like, why would he? If you're only making $1 million and you're probably making, at least that off the field.
Oh, more.
I don't even know what his Toyota deal is, and he's got multiple endorsements, but
gave his teammates $1 million in cars.
Well, yeah.
I mean, he did.
I doubt that came out of his pocket.
Right.
That was, hey, one phone call. Hey, can you do my guys a solid?
My point
Get him
is,
a 1-year lease.
Yeah. If they're going to do that, I would imagine they're paying him even more than what that's worth.
Exactly.
By the way, so that everybody has the reference, here's what Purdy said yesterday.
I want to obviously get it done. If that's an opportunity to be able to get that done quick, that'd be great. Just so we can get back for phase one, get after it with the receivers and our team, and just continue to grow. Because man, we all got to grow together. We got to come close and learn and be the best versions of ourselves as fast as we can. And phase one is my mind of OTAs, coming back, getting all the guys back, and let's roll. Let's get after this offseason together. But with that being said, everybody's timing is a little different and stuff. But for me, at the end of the day, I want to win. I want to win for this organization and everybody here. And I'm not the kind of guy that wants to have any kind of drama associated with anything. I'm here for this organization, for my teammates in the locker room, and I want to be very professional about it. We play professional football for our living, and I want to keep the main thing, and not get distracted by all the chaos that can go on within it. But I want to just be clean about it and respectable, and get something done and get back to work.
Yeah, I agree with Ross Tucker, but I just didn't find that to be a surprise.
Oh, and totally non-threatening. It wasn't like, I would hate to get to March and, have to have a decision to be made at that point about, whether or not I want to be there for my team. He said all the right things.
Yeah, he said it the right way, but I do think that he said that. He's like, I want to be building chemistry with my teammates.
Right.
Well, to me, that's a clear indication. If you don't sign me, I won't be here getting chemistry with my teammates.
Right, and they know that, and it's just the way it goes in football and pro football. And you saw it with, Trent Williams, and you saw it with Brandon Ayuk, which was much more direct and in your face. And for Brock Purdy, the quarterback, he understands the value of the quarterback being in camp and the quarterback being a part of everything that's going on. And, so far to date, he has been absolutely pitch perfect in everything he said throughout his career.
Terrell Owens going to stop by soon. We've got what we sort of felt was a bombshell of a feature article about Steph Curry that we want to discuss, and we will. Coming up next, we're sponsored by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Safe travel in the new year starts at Valvoline Instant Oil Change, your 15-minute drive-through oil change for all vehicle types. Friendly technicians will check fluids, wipers, lights, and more. No need to get out of your vehicle. Locations and coupons at BayAreaOilChange.com. This is Willard and Dibbs.
And Dan Dibley over here to talk about Abundant Life.
Giants 0-2. And Sandoval hits it into center. Back at the wall. Goodbye. 1-0 Giants and a home run by Pablo Sandoval.
Now, back to Willard and Dibs on 95.7 The Game.
Verlander about to come back and change those third and king memories that he currently has.
Yeah. He would hope. Yep.
Tell you what, man. Just two memories that I have of the Giants' World Series runs was that twice they were going up against a Game 1 starter they were told they were flat out not allowed to beat. Not allowed to beat. I'll never forget when I think it was J.P. Morosi, if my memory serves. It was J.P. Morosi who, leading into the Rangers-Giants 2010 series, was like, well, look, the Giants are already down 2-0. Like, I really like the Rangers in the series. They're already down 2-0 because Cliff Lee does not lose playoff games. He is unhittable right now. So look at the series through that lens. Rangers are up 2-0. A few hours later, Oracle Park at that time, Pac Bell Park or whatever the heck we wanted to call it, had 11 runs on the scoreboard, and the Giants were up 1-0.
Yep. That's the way that went.
And Verlander was the same thing. Like, it can't beat that guy.
No.
They never lost.
Well, he was probably thinking about the A's who couldn't beat that guy. And I know it's probably too soon, but they faced him every year in the playoffs, and I was at a lot of those games, and Verlander just came in and shoved, and now the details are out. According to sources, $15 million for the 1 year.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, at first blush, it's too much money, but it's not my money. So if he's,
why do you feel like it's too much money? That's not a big deal. Like 15's not. That's not a large number anymore.
No, it's not. But for me, you're talking about probably maybe $750,000 to start. I don't think he's going to start 30 games. He might start 20, 25. But again, not my money, and it's not going to prevent you from doing other things. I do wonder about the Corbin Burnes contract, and if you were never even in it or if you lost out based on money, whatever that result was, now you turn around and give a 42-year-old pitcher $15 million. I just hope it doesn't prevent you from doing other things.
I wouldn't think so. I think that actually they're already at something else prevented us from doing something, so we're going to this. You know what I mean? Like they're working with a free agent budget right now. Again, I wish it were higher. This is their decision, but $15 million, that's the kind of thing that fits and does not push the luxury tax penalties and all of that stuff. Corbin Burnes, you get Corbin Burnes, that is probably going to be it. They're already pushing over tax lines, and you probably wouldn't be able to, at least again, you would be, but they would not maneuver with anyone else. This, I think, allows for there might be more. There might be more on the way.
Okay. Yeah, and that's, again, $15 million at first blush feels like a lot. You're right, though, $15 million in this day and age is not that much. I wonder how much Justin Verlander is really going to contribute on the field. I was just playing our colleague's Insta reaction, Joe Shasky, on Twitter, and he likes it. And the reason why he likes it is, I think, valid, that he's a guy who can come in and mentor some of the younger pitchers. And so you can't put a value on that part of it. And I do think that might ultimately be his biggest impact on this team.
Well, they kind of hold each other's hand, right? Like Justin Verlander can help show the way for some younger pitchers, and the number of young pitchers they have helps Justin Verlander miss every fourth start.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, you're
like
right.
That's kind of I think why it makes sense.
And if he and Jordan Hicks ultimately account for one full turn, and I don't know if Jordan Hicks is ready to stretch out and be an actual real full-time starter, but last year Hicks started 20 games, and if Verlander starts 15, there is one complete full turn.
Let's have some fun here because Terrell Owens is in the building. But
okay.
We're going to let everybody kind of get settled and bring him in here in about 10 minutes. Those of you who are not on YouTube, I would suggest you should go to YouTube right now because Terrell Owens is about to be in the room with us in 10 minutes or less. Joe called from Napa and has a possible trade for the Warriors. You want to hear this?
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, what's going on? Thanks for calling.
Yeah, so I've heard a lot about Vucevic being on the trade market.
Yep.
And I think that would be a great trade piece for the Warriors. But I was wondering if the Warriors could somehow get Vucevic and Giddey, maybe giving them Schroeder, Looney, and GP2. And the reason is just to load Chicago up with a bunch of players who will be on contracts that will be ending this season. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that Joe, thanks. I think that Josh Giddey is somebody that the Bulls they just acquired not that long ago, and although he's not expensive, I'm seeing right now his number is at 8.3. So I just think anything that adds more money to the deal right now becomes complex for the Warriors, because if Nikola Vucevic is at about 21. You add 8.3 now. Now you're pushing up toward $30 million.
Yeah, about 30.
Yeah, and how you do that without Andrew Wiggins becomes challenging in a way that the other team would care about.
Then you're talking about picks and whether second round or maybe it's a protected first or the rest of it. And also, Giddey is a restricted free agent, so when he hits the market at the end of this year, he's probably going to get a pretty healthy bump. He's a good young player, good young scorer, so that becomes a rental. Vucevic is a guy you'd have for this year and next. And, if you're Chicago and you do part with those two players, you probably want at least something that you could put on the floor and think that you got a decent player.
I think, and this is not for nothing, I think that the most likely deal for the Warriors as we sit here today would be Vucevic. On the way out would probably be Looney, GP2, and then there will need to be another piece that doesn't make a lot of money thrown in there, and then a pick. Like that's a deal that I could see happening here in the next couple of weeks.
Right, and then for Chicago, you're looking for future assets, and ideally they would probably want Kuminga, but I think the Warriors are going to be less likely to part with Kuminga unless it's one of those real big game hunting things that we've talked about in the past. And now with his injury, it seems less and less likely that he's even going to be available for a trade for another team.
Yeah, that complicates it even more, for sure. So anyway, but I still, if you want to select a player around the league that I think has a chance to be a Warrior who is a scorer and of some note around the league, that's where I would put my chip right now, is Vucevic from the Bulls.
Yeah, it'd be a good one.
That's the one.
I think he fits the best. Cam Johnson with Brooklyn would also fit really well. He's a guy who can score, and he's under team control. And we can get into the wild card name, which is filed under the wild hair ideas, because Bradley Beal now, he has a no trade, but he's growing less and less thrilled. If you want a guy to come in and just score for you, the dude is a bucket.
Well,
Bradley Buckets.
Now you're getting into a 3 or 4 team deal that probably sends Jimmy Butler to Phoenix with Bradley. And my God, you want to talk about complex. But
no doubt. I'd rather have Beal than Butler, though.
For sure. I agree with you there. We're brought to you by Fremont Bank. We're here for you. We're here for good. And we're here for Terrell Owens. T.O. in the building, about to jump in with us. We'll do that next on Willard and Dibs.
King stumbles on the way back and fires up the middle. Pass is caught by Owens. Owens made the catch.
Now, back to Willard and Dibs on 95.7 The Game.
Hey, it just got more interesting up in here.
You think?
It just got a little bit more interesting up in here, didn't it?
It went from just me and you to me and you and, I don't know, one of the greatest in the history of the National Football League. And just to hear that call coming back from Pat Summerall, I got some goosebumps, not only being next to T.O.
Always do.
But hearing the calls, too. My goodness, it's T.O., Mark.
What's up, T.O.?
T.O.
Oh, y'all talking about me? That's me?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm T.O.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, guys.
Yeah.
What's up?
And we'll get to your pickleball greatness in a minute. But, man, football and heading into the playoffs and T.O. in the building, this is pretty cool.
It's an honor to have you here, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And I mean, we got all kinds of stuff we want to talk to you about, but our listeners know because we've been talking about it a lot over the All-Star Weekend, the Celebrity Pickleball Bash, Pickletainment that you guys are involved in, and the trash talk that's already starting now between you and some of the other participants.
Yeah, I hear CC Sabathia has been really talking a lot of trash. I mean, I know he's good on the diamond, but pickleball, the pickleball court is a little bit different.
Are you like training for this? Like, have you been getting into it?
I wouldn't say training.
Okay, what would you say?
Kind of refining a few skills. But yeah, I mean, get your pickleball ready. That's all I can say.
Love it. I mean, that's
get your pickleball ready. That's all I can say.
Your skill set, great hands, great short area quickness, ability to go over the middle, toughness, and the rest. Yeah. How does that translate to pickleball greatness?
There's an intimidation factor when you're at the net. I think that kind of factors into it. Obviously, with my physical attributes, my length, that helps me at the kitchen.
Nice.
But again, like you mentioned, just the change of direction, the athleticism, it comes into play. But it's not all athleticism. It's all about, obviously the skill set of like dinking, obviously some strategy into it. You can get beat by some 60s, 70s, maybe some 80-year-olds.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't know what you're doing. You're laughing.
No, I know.
No, I played in I'm not some 60, 70-year-olds, but I played in a tournament in Puerto Rico. I got paired with a guy. The guy's name is Ben Patton. I'm probably about to call him out. I thought he was really good because he was like, I know this is charity, but he's like, I like to win. He's like, you like to win? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I'm, and I just started to learn like maybe a couple of months ago. And so he's like, yo, let's win this thing. And so we got on the court and we played 4 matches. We only won 1.
Oof.
Yeah.
And the first couple of matches was brutal. And the second match, we had a couple of ladies, and they waxed us. And I was hot. Low-key, I was very, very hot. I'm mad.
Yeah.
And so I left Puerto Rico, and I'm like, this is not happening again. So I've been taking a few lessons here and there, but I've definitely gotten addicted to pickleball. Thanks to some ladies, Sydney, that's working with the PPA. She's working with Eula. She's a brand ambassador for them. But yeah, I'm very fortunate to be a part of Celebrity Pickleball Bash. Ben Shapiro, who's obviously one of the founders of Celebrity Pickleball Bash. I'm now part of that, and I'm looking forward to this weekend because I heard Eric Decker is a great pickleball player. Just saw Brandy Chastain last night. She was talking trash.
Yeah.
I know Eisner, he's a pro pickleball player tennis player now turned pickleball player. So it's a lot of great pickleball players out there.
Chris Mullen, Hunter Pence, some Bay Area legends who are going to be a part of this. By the way, it's February 15th and February 16th. T.O. just mentioned it. CelebrityPickleballBash.com is where you can buy tickets.
Yeah.
And they start at just $25. So what exactly is that? What's it going to look like for the fans? What are they going to come out and see?
I don't know yet. I'm trying to get my walkout theme song, getting that ready. That's going to get me pumped up. But obviously we're going to be playing on a stage, iconic Warfield Theater stage, and so they're going to have like DJs and all that good stuff. So I'm really not knowing really what to expect. Again, like I said, I'm Terrell Owens, the pickleball player now. Forget anything that has transpired before today. Now, like I said, I'm full throttle with this pickleball thing, but it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of trash talking. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of entertainment. And Chris Mullen, he said it earlier today in one of the interviews. It's all fun and games until it starts, that the scores start being kept. Mm-hmm. And so, again, like I said, I'm not trying to be the butt of anybody's jokes. I'm not trying to be on any memes. I'm not trying to be on anybody's social media. I'm playing to win. That's number one. I'm going to have a little fun, but I'm playing to win.
Any thoughts about the walk-up song, and will you come out with the gold jacket? Because, I mean,
you gave me an idea.
You got Hall of Famers. You got Mullen and Brandy Chastain's one of the greatest of all time. I mean, no one can flex like T.O. I could see you coming out in like a half shirt with the 10-pack flying with the gold jacket.
Oh yeah, trust me. I'm trying to bring this pickleball to life around the country. So this is going to be our first event. All-Star Weekend, and I think after that we're going to be going to San Antonio for Final Four and stuff like that. So again, like I said, I'm not just doing this just as a celebrity face or what have you. I'm trying to become pro with this.
Love it.
So I want to be able to compete with some of the likes of like Sam Querrey and Eisner and all these guys. And again, you got Ben Johns I met about a month and a half ago. Obviously he's one of the best pickleball players, if not the best in the world. Yes, it's been a lot. So.
My advice when you faced Isner, you got to dink him. The man is 6'11", Mark. John Isner is one of the tallest human beings in the history of paddle sports. You got to make that man bend over.
Yeah.
Tyson, you got to make him stoop.
Was it Tyson McGuffin? I think he's one of the guys. Corey, one of the guys. I mean, I've met a lot of guys over the last probably like couple of months. And I'm like I said, I've only been playing this game for literally probably like maybe 2 to 3 months, if that. And so I've tried to improve my game every time that I've stepped on the court. I'm in Houston. I'm Googling. I told the guys I've Googled on the side of the road trying to find like some pickleball courts, and found some places in the Woodlands. There, drop shots. I did my first pickleball tournament December 14th, the weekend of I did my birthday party. So that was a huge success, and so a lot of people turned out for that. But yeah, man, this game is fun. I mean, it's the fastest growing sport in the United States right now.
Yep.
I told some people it's equivalent to what really kind of what CrossFit was some years back. Everybody gravitated to CrossFit, and I mean, you start seeing CrossFit places like pop up left and right. There are some injuries associated with this game.
Yeah,
now, so you got to be able, it's not just something you just go out there and like, oh, I can play. If you're not, know your level of fitness going into this thing, because again, like I said, if you're trying to reach out for some stuff and you haven't played in a while, you might find yourself on a physical therapy table the following week. So make sure you stretch and hydrate.
Yeah, I'll have a blue tent out at the event for sure.
Exactly.
You recognize the voice. T.O. is here with us on 95.7 The Game, Willard and Dibbs. I wanted to mention to you also, congrats to, I saw that your son got the reserve futures contract with the Niners this week.
Yep.
And so, I mean, I know that there's still a lot of work to be done there, but how's he doing, and what's going on there?
He was at the event last night. Some of the promotional stuff we did at Sports Basement. But I'm super proud of him. Again, that's a long journey for him. Again, he's just now starting to get his feet wet, and so he had like a little setback right before training camp. He broke his hand, so he had to heal up, and they brought him back. Probably I think around 4th or 5th week of the season. So he's maintained a steady level of progression with where he is, and I just told him that's all you got to do is just steadily progress and get better with everything to become the receiver that he needs to be. He doesn't need to go out there and try to really be me. Just live up to that Owens name, and I think he has the ability to do that.
There's been a lot of talk, I'm sure this is no surprise to you, about the 49er receiver room as a whole this year. We'd love to talk to you about it and get your response to what you've seen out there from the Ayuk injury to what seemed like certainly a disappointing year for Debo. Jawan Jennings kind of coming out, Ricky Pearsall coming up. What do you think of the room as a whole, and does it need more?
I think when you look at injuries, that's been really kind of really the situation with the entire season. It's hard to kind of duplicate, the season before, especially the last couple of years. They've been knocking at the door of, winning the Super Bowl or getting to the Super Bowl. And it's hard to do that when you have a lot of key players out. And you think about CMC, and think about obviously Brandon Ayuk. He had the contract situation, and then he gets into comes in right before the season, probably not in the best shape. And then obviously the unfortunate injury, the ACL injury. Christian McCaffrey, lingering injury from last year, missed part of the season this year. And so again, and you got Nick Bosa on the defensive side of the ball, even Greenlaw, Super Bowl, right in warm-ups, tears his Achilles. But again, it's hard to come back from a lot of injuries. And if you don't have the caliber of players to really duplicate what they've done, then it's hard to kind of rebuild and restructure and things of that nature. But they have, I think, the necessary pieces. They just got to have everybody healthy. I think everybody's been, critical of the play of Brock Purdy. He's not, been the consistent, quarterback that they want him to be. But I think if you surround him, and as I think everybody has seen that with the type of players that he needs to make plays for him, he's not one of those guys that's going to just go out and will you to a win. He has the ability to make all the throws, make those gutsy plays when he has to, if he has to run the ball. But if you surround this guy with superior talent, what he can do. They've gotten to the Super Bowl with him, and I think this year, going into next year, if they can, kind of refine some of those pieces that they kind of lacked this year, especially in the receiver room, as you were speaking of specifically. And I think with Debo, I talked to Debo during the course of the season. I think he knows he has to play better. I think Kyle Shanahan knows that. Obviously, with a talent like Debo, you have to put those guys in positions to succeed and win. He's not, a traditional every down back. He could be, but he's not an every down traditional receiver either. So you have to have a guy with special skill set like that. Debo can return kicks. Obviously, he can get back there in the backfield. You have to put those guys in special situations to in order to help you win ball games. So, but I'm not going to defend Debo, but he knows, like, if you're going to want the ball, you got to go out there and make those plays. You can't be going out there dropping the ball, letting the ball go through your hands, things like that, and then you get in the media and saying that you're not being utilized enough.
Did you talk to him after? There was a little exchange the last time you came on this station and said that he was more interested in his outfits.
Oh, yeah, I talked to him.
And then he hit you on social. Was your conversation after that?
Yeah, okay. It was.
And how'd it go?
No, that was cool.
Okay.
He just texted me, and then, like I said, we laughed about it. But I've known Debo, and we've talked, prior to that. And so, again, I said it tongue in cheek. Like I said, it's not anything I'm sure that wasn't the worst thing that has been said on social media. So obviously, it pales in comparison to what some of the things that were being shown and said about him on social media. He just needs to kind of tighten up his wardrobe a little bit, make it a little bit more manly. You know what I mean? He knows that. But we had a laugh about it, but it wasn't anything bitter. It wasn't any harsh exchange of words. We talked about it and we left it at that. And that's what men do. We pick up the phone and we talk about things and we keep it moving.
Just hash it out, exactly.
Yeah. But it wasn't even, like I said.
No, nothing to even hash out, right?
But it was funny. I mean, he has to know. He doesn't really know me personally. But like I said, it's not anything that anybody else hasn't said on social media.
Right, and you look at this era of player in the social media era because you got done a little bit before all this blew up. Do you ever think about how you would be if you were playing today and, 51-year-old T.O. is different than 31-year-old T.O.? And do you think about how you would be if you were at the peak of your playing career now in this social media era?
Oh, I would love it. I'd be eating it up. I would be eating it up. I mean, you got to find ways to have fun with it. And then just understand, just what entertainment is, the fan engagement, know who you are, be secure in who you are and things of that nature. Again, like I said, I love fashion. So again, they have segments on a lot of these shows about, a lot of these guys' fashion, things of that nature. So again, I would fit right in. I think I was ahead of my time.
Yeah, you were a trailblazer. And I think about college football now, the big controversy about flag planting, and you were out there putting the football at the 50 for Dallas Cowboys. I mean, you look at these controversies now, and you're probably thinking, I was doing this 25 years ago.
Yeah, like I said, it pales in comparison to what some of these guys are, bickering about right now.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco and Odyssey Sports Station. Always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. For a low-rate auto loan, apply online or just ask for First NorCal Financing at the dealer. Obviously, we are talking to Terrell Owens in the building, in studio with us right now on 95.7 The Game. Hey, you mentioned Brandon Ayuk and the contract holdout from earlier this year, and I wonder what your experience is with regard to how that kind of thing affects a team. And add into it that Brock Purdy yesterday publicly stated, if there's an extension, let's do this quickly. The Niners 2 summers in a row have had contract holdouts. How does that affect the team?
I think as a player, you don't really harp on anybody's, contractual situations. You kind of just let it play out the way it's supposed to. And again, like I said, this game, I mean, it's NFL is unlike NBA. It's unlike MLB where their contracts are guaranteed. So guys are really trying to maximize the most money that they can with their signing bonuses, and then, whatever's on the back end or whatever, you let the agents do that. But it shouldn't affect, the way that you play, because at the end of the day, the guys that may have something to say, they're going to be in that same situation at some point or another. You're going to have a situation where you may have to renegotiate your contract, and you don't know. It may happen in 2 weeks, it may happen in a month, or whatever the case may be. However long it takes. I think it's unfortunate that it had to drag out as long as it did, and I think it made no sense, because I don't think what he was wanting and however long he waited out, I don't think it made much of a difference. So they should have just settled it from the very beginning, only to get to that point of like, okay, the numbers are pretty much the same. So it's just a lot of wasted time, I think, to be honest. And I'm sure for Brandon Ayuk, I'm sure now looking back on it, I'm sure he's like, well, man, we should have just gotten this done early on, or I should have taken a different approach about it, or what have you. But when you're in the moment, you want to honestly, you want to make the most money, maximize the most money that you can. It
makes sense. And like you're saying, football, no guaranteed contract, so you got to get what you can get while you can. Yep. A lot of people talking about a Super Bowl hangover this year for the Niners. You went to a Super Bowl. How hard is it to go from being that close to almost tasting it to then trying to strap up again in August and climb the mountain one more time?
I don't consider this a hangover when you consider the number of injuries that they had. It'd be different if they had everybody healthy, everybody playing, and they didn't play their best brand of football. Like I said, it's hard when you have, your best running back who comes, like I said, he, lingering from an Achilles injury last year, and then the first probably, 6 or 7 game he misses, and then he comes back a week or two later, and he's right back out. So I don't think that's the definition of a hangover, so to speak. When you look at the injuries that they've sustained, obviously, like look at the receiver situation, obviously Brandon Ayuk, and then who benefited from the injuries is Juwan Jennings. Here's a guy, again, even from the very beginning of the season, here's a guy who actually played like he was owed, or he was getting paid $30 million a year. That's something that Brandon Ayuk was holding out for. So when you think of guys like that, this is a great example for guys that are on rosters that are, not number one guys. You get your second and third team, and you're getting, minimal reps or what have you. You go out there, you go on the field, you maximize the most of your opportunities. And I think the last 2 years, everybody is starting to, know who Juwan Jennings is. And I think he's starting to make a name for himself, and he's starting to make some money for himself at the same time.
Some 49er greats have weighed in on Kyle Shanahan this year. Jerry Rice and Steve Young both said that he kind of needs to reinvent himself. Do you agree with that?
I to a degree. I don't know Kyle Shanahan like that. But I will say, honestly, when we were speaking on the Debo situation, like I said, I talked to Debo, and when we talked, he said, he and Shanahan had great communication, great relationship where he could go in there and talk about, okay, well, how can I get and be more involved? I think sometimes you have to go away from what you've done and try to evolve with what you have talent-wise in that locker room. Again, like I said, Debo isn't your traditional, I think, WR1. Could he be that with a good summer of just nothing but route running, specializing on that? Absolutely. But he's such a unique talent that he can do a little bit of everything. He's somewhat of an X factor. He's not like, an every down back like CMC. CMC can do a little bit of everything as well, but you're not going to see CMC going out and playing wide receiver. Debo can do a little bit of everything. He has to be a little bit more creative, I think, with his players and expand the playbook a little bit. I think that's what Steve and Jerry may be touching on.
And is part of that letting Brock, get back there and cook a little bit? Because Mark and I talk a lot about what the Niners do, and you use the fullback a bunch, and so you don't have a lot of 3 receiver sets. Would you like to see Shanahan open it up a little bit more to where you get some 4 receiver sets and you get him back there and just cutting it loose a little bit more?
Absolutely. When you have some dynamic receivers, especially like 3 and 4 receivers, when I played, we had myself, J.J. Stokes. We had obviously some good tight ends. We had 4 and 5 wide packages or what have you. When you have some dynamic receivers and obviously some running backs that can obviously catch the ball out of the backfield, it was that way when I went to Philly. We had myself, Chad Lewis, we had L.J. Smith, we had Todd Pinkston, we had Freddie Mitchell, and we had some other receivers. Like, we were, like, unstoppable. And we had some guys, Brian Westbrook coming out of the backfield, Correll Buckhalter. I mean, we had a little bit of everything. And so I think if he can kind of duplicate some of what I just mentioned with those guys, with the guys that he has in that locker room, again, just let it rip. And I think you don't really see a lot of deep balls being thrown. You have a lot of misdirection, a lot of, over routes. I don't see a lot of slants, a lot of, things that, allowing players to really short routes, like getting the ball to them quick and let those guys make plays. I think that's what Steve and Jerry are touching on.
T.O., this is something that we as fans don't get to know about, and I wonder what your perspective is, because this fan base right now is talking about and thinking about money a lot because it's a quarterback going into talks on an extension. We've also seen the wide receiver market specifically go crazy and balloon in the last couple of years. How do teammates – I know everyone likes to stay out of other people's pockets, but how do teammates handle all of that? And, how would you feel if a young quarterback is making $60 million a year?
Oh, my goodness.
If the market is for that, then what can you do? There's not anything you can say. There are times, like say, when I played, I felt like I should have been making a little bit more than some of the quarterbacks that I was playing with, but that wasn't where the market was at that time. I never maximized and got full value as a receiver when I played. That was part of the reason why I didn't get an extension or got kept with the Eagles. When I went through that little short stint of trying to renegotiate my contract, I was just trying to get fair market value, and they felt what I was asking for was too much. And look at what guys are making now.
Right,
it pales in comparison. It doesn't even scratch the surface. So again, it's hard to say. The market is different, and some guys kind of set the market for other guys. And if you feel like you have the skill set and you put it on tape and you're producing, then you want to go for you. Again, football players, they go into it trying to maximize and making the most money that they can because, like I said, it's unlike MLB and NBA that those guys get guaranteed contracts. And for us football players, those football players, they try to get the most in their signing bonuses they can.
Does that ever cause anything though in the locker room? Are guys looking at this stuff? Does that ever cause any hurt feelings, jealousy?
No, why would it? If you're playing the position, where the market is set, where they're making a lot of money, the only thing you can do is change positions. Other than that, you just do what you do.
Yeah, keep your head down and try to play football. But
exactly.
Do you now, looking back, because you've been out of the league, a little bit of a stretch. 14 years you've been out. And we always joke that you could probably still get out there and do it maybe for a series or maybe a little bit more. But do you look at some of these players and think, man, I wish I was 25 years old right now making what some of these guys are making?
It'd be stupid, bro.
Right?
Honestly, it would be stupid. At the height of my career, the market would be stupid for what we were doing at that time, and considering what these guys, they're doing, but they're really not doing.
Doing it in a league where the rules are a little different now. Like, you go over the middle and you might get stabbed. You might get your wallet taken.
Right, yeah. Like I say, if you look at the yards that these guys are putting up right now, again, let's imagine how many yards we would be flirting with. Like, honestly, I would try to be 2,000 yards every year, considering how the league is being officiated, how soft the defenses are. You have to play now.
Right.
Guys are going over the middle, barely getting touched. So again, that was something, like I said, I never really feared too much. That was just part of what I did and part of kind of like my physical makeup to go over the middle and take those hits. And with the West Coast offense, it afforded me the opportunity to really, take the short and medium game passes and take them to the house. And I think a lot of people really didn't know that I had the ability, especially speed-wise or down the field threat-wise, until I went to the Philadelphia Eagles. Because most of the plays that I made, they were short, intermediate plays, and then I did the rest. We never really threw any deep balls coming out from our own red zone. We never started from the 5 to 10, 15, or 20. We never threw any shots or deep balls until we got to around the 40, the 40 or 50. That was because Jeff Garcia, he was limited at his arm strength. And so that's not a knock on Jeff. It was because of what he did best, which was getting out of the pocket, scrambling, and making plays off improvisation.
We're talking with Terrell Owens, obviously, here on Willard and Dibbs 95.7 The Game. He is part of the big pickleball event that is coming February 15th and 16th. CelebrityPickleballBash.com is where you can get more information and buy tickets. And he is among many celebrities we've been talking about. Brandi Chastain and Hunter Pence and Chris Mullin. And all these people are going to be there. Tickets starting at just $25. While we're talking about those receivers in the league, who do you like? Give me 3 receivers who you think are who are really, really, they stand out to you right now.
I mean, right now you got to look at Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, one more maybe. I think one guy who I think has been underutilized is DK Metcalf.
Interesting.
He's whoever's that offensive coordinator, they're doing him a disservice. It's an injustice as to his production and what he could be possibly doing. He's too big and too great of a talent not to be even. You don't even really think of DK Metcalf, really, to be honest, in the top 5 when you think about receivers this year. I know him because I know him personally. I've worked out with him. And I know what such a talent he is, and I feel like he's being underutilized in that offense.
Who's got a higher body fat? You or DK? Because I got you both at about 3.8% right now.
I'm a fatty right now.
I'll say that. Come on, man.
I'm a fatty.
What'd you eat over the holidays? What'd you eat?
I ate pretty healthy. I mean, I had a couple of pizzas here and there.
Okay.
Here and there.
Trust me, I don't eat as healthy as when I played. So again, but I
hope not.
Overall, I eat relatively healthy.
By the way, the Seahawks just fired their offensive coordinator.
For real, he should have. They should have. And I'm not saying it. I'm just saying it just because of lack of production, just the lack of not hearing DK's name throughout the course of the season. For him to be such a talent, and even Geno have a quarterback, like Geno, those two should be wrecking the league. Like no matter what, he should be. We should hear something about DK Metcalf every week, if not every other week.
Would you actually pick him as your number 3, like current production? If you Jamar, Justin, if I made you pick a third,
yeah, because like there's no other names that really just stick out to me.
Not AJ Brown,
or Amon-Ra St. Brown, or
St. Brown. He's doing very well.
What about Tyreek Hill?
He fell off the wagon this year. And
how did his comments this weekend grab you? Did you see him where he's like, first of all, he wouldn't go in the game, and then
that's terrible. I mean,
and he said, "I'm out."
Yeah, to say you're a competitor, and then you look back and you say, and to find out that you didn't go in the game, for what reason? Not like a non-injury related type of situation, but you're a competitor. Yeah, that's a lot of it doesn't
rings a little hollow.
Yeah. So again, like I said, I didn't agree with what he said. Again. You wanted to get out of Kansas City because you wanted money. You could have taken less to stay in Kansas City to win, which is why you're upset because of this year because you're not winning. So what is it? You can't have your cake and eat it too. So, I mean, he made that bed. He has to lie in it.
How does a healthy Brandon Ayuk stack up with those names? Because that's the conversation we're having in the summer.
I don't know. I've never really seen him as a number 1 receiver, to be quite honest. I think he was a beneficiary to some of the things that were happening last year. Obviously, Debo was, when he put up those big numbers, I think everybody was double teaming Debo. They was looking at, CMC. So he was a secondary receiver that put up a lot of numbers that warranted, big dollars. But are you that guy? Are you that dog? Not everybody fits in that mold. You can have number 1 WR1 numbers, but that doesn't mean you're going to produce like a WR1. I think I give 2 examples that I've seen. Back when I played, you had Eric Mose and Peerless Price. Peerless Price put up huge numbers due to the fact that everybody was double teaming, paying a lot of attention to Eric Mose. Atlanta Falcons paid him a lot of money to go to be that number 1. We haven't seen Peerless Price since, and that's not a knock on him. But I'm just saying, everybody's not built to be that number 1 receiver, and just because you want to get paid like one, you have to produce like one as well. The other one is AB and Juju Schuster. Juju produced number 1 numbers because of AB. He wanted to get big dollars. He got paid. We're still looking for Juju.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that's just how it is.
Alvin Harper. Back in the day when he was next to Michael Irvin, don't you think that was pretty similar?
Yeah, in a sense. I don't know if he was griping about,
No, but he took a free agent contract to go be number one, and we never really heard from him
Right,
again.
Exactly. Again, it takes it's a different animal, a different mindset to be a number one receiver. Just because you get paid like one, you got to actually produce and be that guy. You know what I mean? You can't just go missing. And so you subject yourself to a lot of criticism when you go be a number one and then you're not producing. You saw Juju Schuster. He wanted all that wanted money. He had other theatrics. He was doing other things, TikToks, going to the guys, middle of the field, doing a lot of social media stuff, which was, he was prioritizing that instead of prioritizing what he was supposed to be doing on the football field.
One wide receiver that we saw hit a milestone this weekend was Mike Evans down in Tampa. 11 straight years getting 1,000, and he gets it in a spot where the defense was kind of laying back. What did you make of the streak continuing, and just what do you make of him as one of the great receivers?
No, I'm proud of him. He's very underrated. He reminds me of a Larry Fitzgerald. Just quiet, goes about his job, gets it done. Obviously, he's a Super Bowl champion. Again, this guy that, again, like I said, obviously he's going to be a Hall of Famer one day. Obviously have a streak of 11 1,000-yard seasons in a row. That's incredible, because I know what it takes to really to be in that position and put your body through the work, the mental capacity that you have to have week in and week out, and obviously for him to even really just go through a lot of the hamstring injuries that he's had over the last few years. That has to be weighing on him. So I'm proud of him, and such a classy move by the organization to get those 5 yards or what have you to get him past the 1,000 mark, and then just an incentive of $3 million. That's huge.
$3 million.
That's huge.
It's a big catch.
Yeah,
it's a big catch at the end of the day.
That just shows you that the ownership, they're very, very classy. Obviously, they knew about it. They knew the streak. They knew what he needed to get that. Unlike an owner who's the GM that said that he didn't know Cooper Rush needed X amount of percentage of plays. When you're the GM and negotiate contracts, how can you not know? But oh well.
Yeah, I don't know what team that is. I'll have to Google it, T.O. I can't quite
again,
think
that's
of it.
why they're having the lack of success that they are, because of obviously doing too much.
T.O., there's Deion, there's Deshaun Jackson, there's Michael Vick, there's others. A lot of ex-players getting into coaching. Has Chattanooga called you yet?
No, I don't think. No, I don't know if Chattanooga. I don't know if I'm in the running for any coaching jobs anytime soon.
Does that interest you?
I just like helping out, man. Deion brought me into to Colorado last year to speak to the team, and I spoke to the team. Like I said, obviously helped out with some of the receivers there. One of the guys, he wanted me to kind of groom and try to get him to where he needed to be. And so, again, like I said, I go there from time to time. Like I said, he said I had an open door there to come in whenever. So I just go. I support him. I like everything that he's doing. I'm proud of him, his kids. I'm proud of, everybody. I'm just super duper proud of what he's doing. Obviously not for just the culture, but representing himself in a manner to really just bring just a different brand of football that really kind of is unheard of and not seen before.
Yeah.
He's doing it his way, and people may not like it. But it's all about, producing like good young men, not just on the football field, but off the football field as well.
Outside of pickleball, which we know is a passion, if not an addiction, your words and being a father.
It's becoming an addiction. I don't tell no lie.
Believe me, I've pickled a little bit, and it's hard to get off the court. It's so fun. But what else do you spend your time doing? What else do you get into as 51 TO, still young and fit and active? And I know your daughter's playing volleyball in college. And
she's the
I follow
superstar.
you on the gram, so I keep up with all the Owens family stuff. But what else do you got going on?
Man, I'm just working on my clothing line, Prototype 81. So I collabed with the Celebrity Pickleball Bash. So we created some merch, some apparel for the pickleball. So obviously, when you come here and you see it in February, you'll see what the collab that I did with the Celebrity Pickleball Bash. Ben has on actually an actual hat from that's going to be available. We have some skirts, tennis pickleball skirts for the women, some shirts, some cool pickleball shorts for the men. So I'm just trying to get into the pickleball, like the manufacturing, the clothing side of it. So see where I can go with that. But again, like I said, I have a skincare line. Obviously, that's why I'm looking so nice and bright. You see my skin?
Yeah. Flawless, really flawless.
You do not look 51.
Yeah,
you do not look 51. I'll say that.
I will give it part of it. Ben and I, we just dipped into this spa. We went to Alchemy, this spa right before here.
Fancy.
Man, it was super nice, man. The sauna, then we did the cold plunge. But I put my serum on my serum.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about that.
Yeah, go to Me Skincare by T.O. on Instagram, and you can go to meskincare.to.com. You can check it out. So I have a facial scrub, I have a lip balm coming out. And then obviously serum that's made with vitamin C, rosemary, and turmeric. So it's good for moisturizing your skin. Definitely great for when you get out of the shower, any sauna routines that you may have. But yeah, those are just a few things. And then I have a candle line, obviously my candle line as well.
Yeah, of course.
Loft81home.com.
He's got more endorsements than I do. This guy's a machine.
Strong.
I guess these are shameless plugs that I'm doing right now.
Just plugs.
Yeah, you got to start it with hi. I'm T.O. And whenever my skin's a little dry.
But I don't get to 95.7 that often, so I got to take advantage of it.
No, you're always welcome.
You're invited anytime.
Yeah.
By the way, was this spa trip before or after you played against Mully today? Did you play Mully today?
Yeah, we waxed him. Me and Ben waxed him today. Yeah, we waxed him. We were down. Hey,
who was he playing with?
Elliot.
Okay.
Yeah, Elliot. He's pretty good. Elliot's pretty good. He's a former tennis player.
How's Mully?
Mully was Mully.
Okay.
Mully was Mully.
What does that mean?
Mully was Mully. All I know is my game has improved since the last time that we played. I will say that we were down. We're down 3-9. Was it 3-8 or 3-9? And we beat them 11-9.
And then you went and celebrated at the spa.
Yeah, I had to go relax after that. All I lacked was a cigar. You know what I mean?
No doubt. Not very spa friendly, but I get where you're going.
Right, but you got
to get that cigar. Yeah.
By the way, again, this is all part of NBA All-Star Weekend, February 15th and 16th. They'll be at the iconic Warfield Theater, and you can go to CelebrityPickleballBash.com to get information and tickets, which start at $25. T.O. among the many celebrities who will be there. And I'm sure it's a big deal for you. I know we all know how big of a basketball fan you are. To be a part of NBA All-Star Weekend.
Since they won't invite me back to the celebrity basketball game anymore, so I might as well.
I was told you were too dominant. You took the game over.
They haven't told me that, but I'm starting to believe that may be the case because, again, even a few years back, I had some people that worked inside the NBA. That I even talked to Adam Silver about, like, okay, what's the criteria for playing in a celebrity basketball game now? Because, like I said, I have a few MVPs from playing in it, but over the last few years, everybody's been asking me, like probably the last 10 years or so, everyone's like, well, why don't you play in the celebrity basketball game? And I don't know. Ask Adam Silver.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I was told, my sources told me too much offense and too much defense, too much overall skill is what I heard. Yeah, too much.
I get that's a great problem to have.
It is. It is.
I'm going to bring that problem to the pickleball court.
Yeah, heads up, Mully.
By the way, I'm doing math on what you said. You said it's been 14 years since you've been in the league, right?
Yeah.
So were you 37 when you retired?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I didn't officially retire. Nobody would re-sign me or give me an opportunity to play.
But like barely older than what Steph Curry is now. And the Warriors are still hot after the effort to make him the number one player on what they hope is a championship team. Like, what do you think about that at that age?
No, he very well could do that. I mean, the way he takes care of his body. Like even now, the guy's not really slowing down. To be honest, you really can't tell if he's slowing down or not. He's very efficient. Again, obviously the offense has to go through him. I'm sure there's a plus minus when he's on the court and when he's not on the court. And obviously you have the staple pieces like Draymond Green, who's defensive minded, and bringing those other young guys on to really hone in on the defense, because that's where games are won, especially in the playoffs, because it's more of a half-court game when the playoffs start.
Yep.
You see all these inflated numbers during the course of the season because everybody's in transition, they're going down shooting threes. But when it comes championship and playoff basketball, the game slows down tremendously. It's a half-court game, and that's where, again, you'll benefit. I know there's going to be some trade rumors. I'm bummed that, my guy, Jimmy Butler's not playing with the Heat tonight, but obviously that he's rumored to possibly, this is one of the landing places for him. But if they can get some pieces without losing too much, then obviously I think the Warriors will be definitely in hunt for another championship this year, if not next year.
Jimmy's your guy, huh?
Yeah, I love Jimmy Butler. Yeah, he's a baller. When you think about guys that are like that rise to the occasion, like he's a guy like come playoff time, he's a different animal. He's a different animal. You know what I mean? And you've seen that. And I think it's unfortunate what's going on down there in Miami. With, obviously there's some tension with he and Pat Riley or what have you, but, I didn't know that it was so bad with, some of what they call the heat culture and Pat Riley and what he's established or what have you. But I didn't know it was such a bad outing with Shaq and Dwayne Wade. Now I hear it's with Jimmy Butler. So obviously there's a common denominator there with Pat Riley. So maybe he needs to change his old way of thinking, try to evolve with this new space and value of players, because, again, it's a little bit different, like I say, with football, but, these basketball players, when the market has been set, and we were just talking about that, they want to go for what they feel like they've earned. And I think when you think about Jimmy, what he's done in Miami the last 2 or 3 years, he's deserving of what he's asking for.
I think if pickleball doesn't work out for you, sports talk radio might be a fallback for you. This guy, he watches everything. He's got takes.
I watch more basketball than anything. I've never really been a football guy, and it's hard to, for me, it's hard to not follow football when you're on social media. So that's why I know a little bit of something.
Yeah.
But basketball, I love basketball. So again, I love the addition of Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield has to now improve. Like he needs to continue. He needs to start. Continue to like where he started out this year. He needs to get back in that rhythm of shooting those threes. And I think what really stood out to me is how he just felt free. Whereas before, I think he was in was it Sacramento?
Yeah, Sacramento, yeah.
I think he was restricted. I think it's sometimes like coaches have these game plans where it's got the ball, has to pass, and people have to get a number of touches before you shoot it. But I think people that have come to the Warriors, just think about Nick Young when he came over from Lakers. He played free, like he went out there
maybe too free.
Well, yeah, but I think that's part of coaching when you have a coaching staff and you know the strengths of players that you're bringing in. When you're bringing in guys that can shoot, allow them to shoot, do what they do best. But you got to kind of hone them in a little bit. We need to play a little bit of defense as well at the same time. And that's how you win championships. You can hang your hat and live and die with the three, and I'll do that any day when you got Buddy Hield and you got shooters like Moody and Steph Curry. But again, when you got a defensive mind like Draymond Green, and you keep on with that, then that's a recipe for a championship.
Can we welcome your pickleball partner in?
Who is that? Yeah. Yeah.
Bring him in.
Yeah, bring him pickleball.
It's Ben Shapiro. They call him Mr. Pickletainment himself. A well-earned nickname, I would imagine.
Not bad, right?
Yeah, not bad.
Welcome in, man.
No, thanks for having me.
This is a hell of an event you're putting on. How'd you get all these people?
Well, I mean, a lot of hard work, right? I mean, you come up with an idea and you try to carry it out, and we're excited. I think pickleball is a sport that's the fastest growing sport in the United States. There's 48 million people playing it. It just became more popular on the Apple Watch than tennis. And I played tennis in college. I played pickleball. I've been involved in pro pickleball. I think the problem with pro pickleball is, I go play every Thursday night with my buddies, and nobody can name 2 pro pickleball players. Now, everybody knows who T.O. is, and Chris Mullen, and Hunter Pence, and CeCe Sabathia, and John Isner. So we're going to take celebrities. We're going to partner them with pro pickleball players. Nobody knows who they are, but they're dang good pickleball players. And we're going to have a doubles tournament. And we're going to be playing music. It's going to be a pickleball party, music, entertainment incorporated, a pickleball court on the stage at Warfield Theater. And it's going to happen Saturday, February 15th, Sunday, February 16th, 1 to 4 p.m. So it's not going to interfere with the dunk contest that happens over at Chase Center on Saturday night and the All-Star game on Sunday night. And it's going to be a heck of a pickleball party.
It's incredible. And I played tennis in college as well. And so I have gravitated to pickleball. You get older and the tennis court seems so big. Yeah. It's so hard to play tennis. But pickleball, and T.O. touched on it, pickleball is fascinating because you can be a pro athlete like T.O., and you can be bested by a couple of 65-year-old grandmas because they happen to have the dink and they got the touch, and maybe it's an Ernie around the post or whatever it is. So I think it's fascinating that you've got these pro athletes like T.O. who is so into the game. Like, I'm hearing the passion from you, T.O., that reminds me of when you were playing football 15 years ago.
Oh, trust me, I'm not about to be a laughingstock and be like, because I hear some of the conversations, and I'm like, man, I don't want to be, when I leave, I'm like, oh, man, that guy's terrible. That's not about to happen. I'm taking it serious to the point, like I said, I have a couple of coaches wherever I am that's helping me kind of like refine, some of the deficiencies in the game. Like I said, understanding, learning the lingo. Definitely got to stay out of the kitchen.
Always
got to stay out of the kitchen. Yep. Learning to dink, and it's a patient game. Sometimes it's a game of like, okay, who's going to mess up first? And so again, it's really just learning, the angles, the way you hold a paddle, all those things, return, service, all that good stuff. So I'm learning.
Ben, real quick before you go, how would you describe T.O. as a pickleball player?
Hey, man, he's intense. He wants to win. He's an athlete. And I was telling T.O. earlier today, I mean, we played about a month and a half ago, and then we played yesterday and today at Sports Basement, and T.O.'s leaps and bounds better than he was, a month and a half ago. So come February 15th and 16th, I'd be shocked if T.O. is not making a run at the championship.
Who's my partner again? Jesse?
Well, we haven't announced that yet. We're going
blind draw.
Negotiations. We're going to be announcing the teams very soon, and we're going to have a draw, and it's going to be a heck of a tournament. And we're doing 20-minute games, so it's not side out, game to 7. It's going to be fast.
Okay, good.
It's going to be quick. And then in the breaks, we're going to have a one-song concert. We're going to have a dance performance. We're going to have some comedy. So it's going to be a show, and that's why we're doing it at the Warfield Theater, because it's a show. This is not just your daddy's pickleball, right? I mean, this is a new form of pickleball. And we're trying to scale it, by the way. I mean, we want to do it at many other events. So NBA All-Star here in San Francisco is the first, but we're targeting the Final Four. We're targeting Vegas, NBA Summer League. We're targeting the Super Bowl. We're targeting U.S. Open tennis.
That's a good idea.
So those big events where you already have celebrities like T.O. and you already have fans like us congregating and going to the big event, well, there's wine tastings and there's dinners and there's this and that. Why not Celebrity Pickleball Bash?
Why not? And that's, by the way, exactly where, one more time, you can find info and tickets, celebritypickleballbash.com. $25 is the start. Saturday, February 15th, Sunday, February 16th, and a cast of thousands, including Terrell Owens. Thank you very much, both of you, for coming in, man.
All I can say is, I'm telling you, people, get your pickleball ready. Terrell Owens coming to a pickleball court near you.
That's great third person on the way out.
Fantastic.
So great.
All right, we'll wrap that and talk more about it coming up. Whole lot of fun with Terrell Owens right here on Willard and Dibs.
This game day traffic report is
Now, back to
Will and Dibby
on 95.7 The Game.
Wow. That was
fun.
something.
Yeah.
That was a ton of fun. He had all kinds of things to say.
He got takes. T.O.'s got takes.
He got takes.
On football and especially basketball. Had I known he was that much of a hoop head, we could have gone.
We knew that.
I didn't know he was that much. Like, we could have gone around the association.
Don't you remember back in the day when he was like, I could play in the NBA?
No doubt.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that he had been ostensibly banned from the celebrity game. But when you watch All-Star Weekend, and you probably don't watch a lot of it because I know it's not your bag, but the celebrity game has kind of turned into a big-time joke. Like,
well, yeah, but
it used to be like there was athletes who you could actually watch play basketball.
Right. I liked it when they were doing, it was almost like that rock and jock feel, like somebody shooting a 40-point shot from half court. Or what honestly, it hasn't become any more of a joke than the game itself.
This year it counts. This year it's a different thing.
It doesn't count. It's just different.
It's different, and I do think that it's going to prompt the players to try.
Maybe.
Because it's, pick-up basketball format, and the games are shorter, and so it'll be just a much quicker, run up and down, get a sweat, try to make a couple of buckets, and then sit back down.
Well, I tell you what, you said he got takes, and there were a few things in there. We have some fun. We're talking about pickleball. We get his list of top receivers around the game. There's also some things in there. There's some things in there now.
Yep.
And I would say among them, it certainly sounded to me like this is somebody that has no hesitation about Brock Purdy. This is somebody who is still high on Deebo Samuel. This is somebody who does not think that Brandon Ayuk is a one. Those are some of the things that stood out to me.
And I think that he's right on all three. Brandon Ayuk is not a one, and this team, this offense is not built on having a one, which is why I was asking him about Kyle Shanahan opening it up and cutting it loose, which I don't think Kyle will do, but T.O. was talking about his time in Philly when they'd go 4 and 5 wide, and the Niners almost never do that, and they don't have the personnel to do it, but it kind of goes back to our earlier conversation about do they need another wide receiver. And T.O. was talking about the teams on which he played where they would open it up. And Brandon Ayuk is not a one. And Deebo does need to have the ball in certain situations. And I agree with him about Brock Purdy and he basically said that Brock is good enough with good players around him to be more than serviceable.
We have his comments on all three players that we're talking about.
Okay.
So dealer's choice. You want to hear Ayuk, Deebo, or Purdy?
Let's start with Brock.
Okay, Brock Purdy. Here's T.O.
Everybody's been, critical of the play of Brock Purdy. He's not, been the consistent, quarterback that they want him to be. But I think if you surround him, and as I think everybody has seen that with the type of players that he needs to make plays for him, he's not one of those guys that's going to just go out and will you to a win. He has the ability to make all the throws, make those gutsy plays when he has to, if he has to run the ball. But if you surround this guy with superior talent, what he can do. They've gotten to the Super Bowl with him, and I think this year, next year, going into next year, if they can, kind of refine some of those pieces that they kind of lacked this year, especially in the receiving room.
I know that this still sort of rings in a negative way to people when someone says if you can surround him with superior talent, he can be good. I know everybody wants this put everyone on your back and take them to the promised land guy, and there are just barely any of those. There's Josh Allen, there's Lamar Jackson, and if you want to add Patrick Mahomes in there, I know he's won a bunch of Super Bowls, but I look at him almost as different athletically. But those three guys, and if you want to talk about Joe Burrow, who didn't even make the playoffs this year, but if you want to talk about those four guys, yes, there's those four guys. Who wouldn't want one of those guys? But there aren't that many of those guys. But I'd also add, as much as people salivate over that idea, they ain't one bupkis either. So I just don't think it's this criticism that it's made out to be, the idea that a great player needs great players around him. Hell, what's the conversation we're having about Steph Curry right now?
He's a great player who needs great players around him.
He needs help.
Right.
He needs help. Why is it such a bad thing that Brock does too? I just don't see it that way.
I don't either. And I think about other teams that have won the Super Bowl, and Patrick Mahomes is a great example. Last year, he was a great player who had great players around him, and the majority of them happened to be on defense. And that's why they were able to get so deep in the playoffs and eventually win the Super Bowl, because they had a good defense. And I look at Brock this year, and we can all say that Brock had a, quote, bad year. But if you look at a lot of the metrics and how he played, it was a step back from last year. But last year was such an amazing year, he was going to regress no matter what. And so Brock's play was not as good as it was last year, in large part, I think, because of the injuries all around him. So does he need good players around him to be really good? Yes. And to your point, I think every other quarterback in the league needs the same thing. And Joe Burrow is a good example. He did have great players around him, and they still didn't make the playoffs because they had no defense.
Give me next, Debo or Ayuk?
Let's go to Brandon Ayuk.
Let's go to
Brandon Ayuk. Let's go to Ayuk.
There's T.O. on Brandon Ayuk.
I've never really seen him as a number one receiver, to be quite honest. I think he was a beneficiary to some of the things that were happening last year. Obviously, Debo was, when he put up those big numbers, I think everybody was double teaming Debo. They was looking at, CMC. So he was a secondary receiver that put up a lot of numbers that warranted, big dollars. But are you that guy? Are you that dog? Not everybody fits in that mode. You can have number one WR1 numbers, but that doesn't mean you're going to produce like a WR1. I think I give two examples that I've seen. Back when I played, you had Eric Mose and Peerless Price. Peerless Price put up huge numbers due to the fact that everybody was double teaming, paying a lot of attention to Eric Mose. Atlanta Falcons paid him a lot of money to go to be that number one. We haven't seen Peerless Price since. Mm-hmm. And that's not a knock on him, but I'm just saying everybody's not built to be that number one receiver. And just because you want to get paid like one, you have to produce like one as well. The other one is AB and Juju Schuster. Juju produced number one numbers because of AB. He wanted to get big dollars. He got paid. We're still looking for Juju.
I look at that and I sort of feel the same way about this, but I don't take it. And he's saying, this is not a knock on those players. I say the same thing about these 49ers. We do this a lot, almost not just to Brock, to all of the players on the field, where it's what are they without this guy? What's Brock without CMC? What's Brandon without Debo? What's Debo without this, that, or the other? I don't know, man. At a certain point, I'm yeah, that's the way it works. If those guys, the only way I'd respond to that is fine. If you're another team, if you were the Steelers, remember they wanted to give Brandon the big old bag to come be number one. Well, don't do that. Don't do that because you may get real disappointed. But the 49ers have paid these guys to be teammates with one another.
Exactly.
And we know that when they're all together and healthy, it works.
Well, it worked for Brandon last year, and T.O. was talking about his career year, and he had 75 catches last year for 1,342. Also on the team was a guy with 67, 65, and 60 catches. So Brandon led the team in catches and yardage. Does that mean he was the number one? No. Without McCaffrey and Kittle and Debo, who all had more than 60 catches, Brandon would be doubled and his numbers would go down. So you don't have to be a wide receiver one to put up good numbers. And this team, I think, to your point, is built around having 3 or 4 different weapons, kind of a strength in numbers thing where if you have 4 legitimate weapons out there, you can't double anybody and everyone will get a chance to eat.
Don't get me wrong. I still think the same thing that I thought before the season, that contract is too much for Brandon Ayuk. But, because this is kind of what I hear people do this with Brock right now. Well, would you pay him 60? No. Would you pay him 50? Oh, probably not. Would you pay him 45? Yeah. Well, but what if you just say, do you want him as your quarterback?
Right.
Well, now you get to that's how I felt about Brandon. Do you want him on your team? Yeah. Yeah. And if that's what it costs to keep him, it might feel like I have to grit my teeth. But when you're in the middle of trying to win the Super Bowl, well, yeah, you'd rather have him than not. There's a little bit of that in the Brock Purdy conversation that a lot of us are about to have.
A little bit,
and
yeah.
I know people are going to get caught up with whatever the number is. I look at it differently. Do you want him as your quarterback? Yep.
What's the market?
And he's way better than any of your other options right now.
And then it comes down to what the market is. And I do think with wide receiver that we might be reaching a tipping point where the wide receiver market, it's been so bananas. And you look at all the guys who signed last year, and Justin Jefferson, sure, he's worth it. He's living up to it. Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I threw it out to T.O. and he's like, yeah, Amon-Ra. And he, because he doesn't watch football that closely, as it turns out.
Yeah, they're getting the production they want.
He is living up to it. He's number 2 in the league in catches. He is living up to the contract, but the majority of those guys from Waddle to Ayuk, I know he got hurt, but even without the injury, he was not living up to the deal.
And some of it is circumstantial. Like, I bet most people would look at CeeDee Lamb, and you watch that and you go, oh gosh, he's incredibly talented. Like, is he worth the money? Well, I don't know how to answer that. In a vacuum, yes. In the current structure of the Dallas Cowboys, where they've decided to only pay 2 people and have the rest of their team suck out loud, well, then no. No, it didn't work out, because look at the team and look at their structure and their lack of running game. To me, that's what's out of whack. If you want to pay good receivers $30 million a year, great, do it. But if you're doing it at the expense of your run game, you're going to stink. And that's what Dallas did, and that's what I think is one of the big, to your point, one of the big takeaways this year across the NFL, which a bunch of these running backs that everyone thought was replaceable, whatever. You watch Saquon Barkley get tossed aside, Derrick Henry tossed aside, Joe Mixon tossed aside, Bears let David Montgomery go, and I could go on. And all of those players have been insanely productive, and by the way, all in the playoffs.
And all underpaid when it comes to the amount of impact they've had on their teams. And you could even, look further down the list at running backs who were on the team that they were on last year, like Brian Robinson in Washington. He's been huge. And, you go across the board, like J.K. Dobbins, the aforementioned.
Josh Jacobs, another one, yes.
He went to Green Bay and immediately gave them a ground game. So I do think that the market is going to reset, because you look at last year and a lot of these guys who signed these big deals, they just didn't live up to the number.
Yeah, totally. 888-957-9570. Bystander in Fremont wants to weigh in on the conversation we're having. Hey, Bystander, what are you doing?
Hey, guys. Battling through traffic.
All right, hang in there, Bystander.
Yep. Try again on that phone, Bystander. We're having a hard time hearing you. You good?
Yeah. All good. Can you guys hear me?
It's a maybe. Why don't you try to say something? We'll see if we got you or not. And
right.
No. That's going to
be
no.
a good bystander is what that's going to be. While we get bystander back on, why don't you play the third piece of T.O. goodness?
Debo.
We're talking about Debo, and he kind of is more in team Mark, I think, as far as Debo's value going forward.
Here he is.
Well, I talked to Debo during the course of the season. I think he knows he has to play better. I think Kyle Shanahan knows that, obviously, with a talent like Debo, you have to put those guys in positions to succeed and win. He's not, a traditional every down back. He could be, but he's not an every down traditional receiver either. So you have to have a guy with special skill set like that. Debo can return kicks. Obviously, he can get back there in the backfield. You have to put those guys in special situations to in order to help you win ball games. So, but I'm not going to defend Debo, but he knows, if you're going to want the ball, you got to go out there and make those plays. You can't be going out there dropping the ball, letting the ball go through your hands, things like that, and then you get in the media and saying that you're not being utilized enough.
Okay, I mean, he's right. He's absolutely right. Like Debo, one of the reasons, this is my opinion now, one of the reasons that 49er fans are upset at Debo or feel like he's lost a step has a little bit less to do than the X's and O's of what we're watching, and a little bit more to do with the way he handled it. Think about what stands out with Debo. I get it. You wanted bigger plays. We all did. The utilization didn't look right, but you also had him slap the head of the long snapper, and you also had him complain about usage, and he was very, very prevalent on podcasts this year. And so I think on their own, none of those things are a deal breaker. But when you do all those things, the timing, the one that really pushed it over the edge was to complain about usage and then come out on a Thursday night in a game where neither team used the end zone and drop a pass that was clearly headed for the end zone. You win that game. You beat the Rams, in my opinion. If you catch that ball, you didn't catch it. That's going to send people off the edge. Right. It's going to do it every time.
And if you look at his overall production this year, it was the lowest outside of the 1 year that he was injured for half the season. And he had as many touches almost as last year. He had 4 fewer touches, Mark, if you count catches and carries and his numbers across the board, yards per catch and rushing yards per carry, they were at the lowest of his career. So is it scheme? Partly. Is it the O-line? Partly. But I also would look at a player, when you lose wide receiver 1, Brandon Ayuk, that's the time for Deebo Samuel to be able to step up and increase his production, not have it decrease.
I used to say Super Bowl or try again. Let's do bystander.
Oh, boy.
Try again. Hi, bystander. Try again.
Hey, guys. So I switched over to the carpool lane illegally, so hopefully my signal's better right now.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's hot in that carpool lane. You sound great.
All right. Well, I just wanted to make a comment on Brock Purdy. I actually kind of hate saying this, but I don't think the 49ers should pay him a huge amount to retain him. It kind of giving me vibes of when the Seahawks released Russell Wilson. They ended up with Geno Smith. And look at the Vikings, right? So Sam Darnold, he did lose to the Lions. But when they released Kirk Cousins, nobody expected that Sam Darnold is going to play like he is this season. I'm just saying that, it's great to keep Brock Purdy, but not, pay a huge ransom for him.
Well, bystander, I get it. I really do, but it's just unfortunately not the way it works. I know people want to say, like, we like Brock Purdy, we would like to keep him and not pay him. Well, that's wonderful. Sure. I'd love to win the lotto. I'd love to have dinner for free. I'd love to go to the grocery store and not pay. It's not the way it works. I know that Brock Purdy didn't have the greatest year, but he's definitely one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. The price is the price.
Right.
You don't have any other options, even though a lot of people sound like they think they do. I don't know.
They do have other options, but none of them are as good. You can bring in one of these free agents.
They're worse financially, though. Well, there are worse options financially.
You can draft a guy and have him start. You can bring back Josh Dobbs and have him start. I mean, there are things you can do.
Those aren't real options.
I get it. I get what you're saying. For me, it's not a real option to wait for Sam Darnold or to trade for Kirk Cousins or bring in a 38-year-old Joe Flacco who's a free agent. Those are options, but there's no good option other than keep the guy you have who's been pretty darn good for the majority of his career.
Yep, and put around him what you have put around him in the past. And yes, part of this is hope for better luck. Hope for better things to develop in front of you the way they have before. You want to do it again tomorrow?
Yeah, it was fun today.
Yeah, that was great. Tomorrow, by the way, is not only Greg Cosell Day, Steve Kerr.
Can't wait.
Steve Kerr, and the Warriors do play here in an hour.
Yeah. Hopefully we get Kerr off a win. Happy Kerr. Grandy and I got Happy Kerr last week, which it's kind of rare these days.
I'm all in on Happy Kerr. For now, we're going to get Happy Evan Giddings because he's got Warriors Live, and it's on tap, and it's brought to you by Fremont Bank. Here for you, here for good. That's all for us. Thanks for being with us today. For Dibs, for Grandy, for Lucas, I'm Mark. Shoot your shot. It's all you got.
It's great when we get to the shoot your shot portion of the show because it's almost time for us to go. Little rhyme there, and I'm in such a good mood because I'm feeling great about myself thanks to
And we are back at it from Chase Center. The Warriors getting set to take on the Miami Heat tonight. A pair of teams, one at 500, one a game above 500, and both a couple of squads that are trying to figure out exactly where they fit in the 2024-25 NBA season. Evan Giddings with you again. This is Warriors live from Chase Center. Of course, brought to you as always by Xfinity. Stream sports from the best seat in the house with Xfinity. Bring on the good stuff. The Warriors are the team above 500 at 18-17. Right now tied for 8th place in the Western Conference. They welcome a Miami Heat squad that is dealing with some of their own internal issues, who are 17-17, 3 losses in a row, including last night in double overtime, a game they probably should have gotten against the Sacramento Kings. We're up by 17 points in the second half. Had a chance to ice the game with 2 free throws in overtime. Could not get it done. So again, Miami is a struggling basketball team, but so are the Golden State Warriors. And really, I mean, the Warriors, their last time out, perhaps a low point of their season. I know you can point to the near 40-point loss against the Memphis Grizzlies, but kind of based on where the Warriors are at, the Warriors having Steph Curry and also the injury that they suffered in that game could very easily make the case that on Sunday was a low point for the Warriors when they got drubbed 129-99 by the Sacramento Kings, because they pretty much got dog walked from the start, wire-to-wire loss. One in which Kerr said happens in the NBA, but unfortunately has been happening a little more frequently this season than in recent memory to the Golden State Warriors. And, of course, Jonathan Kuminga, who essentially is out now for 3 weeks and is going to be out at least 11 games due to the kind of time frame that we were given. A right ankle injury that he sustained during that Kings game, went down, immediately limped off and went to the locker room. And so they're going to be missing him tonight against the Miami Heat, and a team that is shorthanded themselves in terms of the wing position because they have imposed a self-suspension on what had previously been, up until this season, their best player, and that's Jimmy Butler, who a couple years ago helped them get to the NBA Finals, has helped this team get to multiple NBA Finals during his time in Miami, and has simply fallen out of favor with Pat Riley and the Miami Heat due to contract disagreement, perhaps role, but really all about the money. And that's where I think the Warriors, as they come into this game, essentially a month away from the NBA trade deadline. February 6th is the deadline. Both teams are in the opposite end of trade positions. Like the Warriors, they have made a move. Obviously, they went on and got Dennis Schroeder, sending DeAnthony Melton over to Brooklyn, along with some second-round picks. But the Warriors at this point are wondering, everyone has, all right, is it going to be Jimmy Butler? Zion Williamson is a big name that has been thrown out there. There's been some smaller names, a la Cam Johnson, Nikola Vucevic, Zach LaVine, perhaps. You know, there's been all these names throughout there that have been connected to the Warriors. Meanwhile, everyone has been connected to the Miami Heat and Jimmy Butler. So the way that I view it is both of these teams are kind of on the opposite end of trade positions, with the Warriors essentially being stuck, in my opinion, at this point, or choosing not to make a deal. They're stuck by choice. The Heat are semi-stuck by choice because I think of the way that Pat Riley has handled the Jimmy Butler situation going back to last summer, where he basically called him out for not playing in the playoffs, told him that he wasn't giving him the contract extension that he wanted, but that has essentially turned Jimmy Butler into somewhat of a malcontent. And things came to a head last week when Butler played terribly against the Indiana Pacers. That press conference afterwards essentially asked for a way out, essentially asked for a trade. The Warriors were a team that's been connected to him. But really, it's all about the money with both. For me, the Warriors are in this position to where they are feeling apprehensive, I believe, to make a move or swing big on a big name like Jimmy Butler because of their apron. They're very... it would have to be somewhat of a needle that they thread, and that's not just for Butler, whatever you think about him. Whatever player that is going to command a large salary, the Warriors have to be very creative with how they make a trade. And then for Miami, it has to do with money because it's all about contracts. I think the reason why they're in this position with Jimmy Butler to start is because they didn't want to pay him what he wanted. He makes $48 this year, has a player option of $52 million for next season, and so he and Pat Riley are essentially going head-to-head, and right now they're at a stalemate. Two very headstrong individuals. Pat Riley has obviously done this for decades and decades in the association, and Jimmy Butler has been one of the most, I would say, immediately impactful players that has switched locale, but also one of the guys that kind of runs organizations into themselves, is a guy that wears out his welcome. Kind of reminds me of Jim Harbaugh in a way. When he gets to a place, he wins. It doesn't have a championship. Neither does Jim Harbaugh. But by the end, you're glad that this guy's gone. And it feels like that's kind of where they're getting to at this point in Miami. So, again, the Warriors trying to figure out how to move 2 games above 500, trying to, again, just kind of move. And I would say at this point of the season, endure. Like, that's the word that I would probably, use to represent where the Warriors are at. Again, 1 month away from the deadline. Is a move on the horizon? I don't think so at this point. Could they make a move? Perhaps. But I don't think the Warriors are in a position where they want to make a move just to make a move. And it's unfortunate because the messaging that has come out from not just Steve Kerr, but more importantly from the franchise himself, Steph Curry, has been, so far, this hasn't been good enough. And the reason is not just because the Warriors are a play-in team, but because it looks like, especially with the 4 and 9 month of December, 4 and 13 over 17 games prior to that, it does look like this is starting to feel a lot like last season. And that's why making a move has been the answer or seeming answer for a lot of fans, and I think for a lot of people, perhaps even inside the organization, is because they're not really sure what else they can do at this point. The Kuminga injury obviously hurts them. It might even hurt the Warriors' ability to make a trade a month out of the deadline. But the whole point is, the roster at this point looks like lesser than, and certainly the parts that they brought in this summer have been helpful, but they haven't been ones to carry this team. And at age 36, Stephen Curry, and at age 34, Draymond Green have not looked so far like they're able to basically put the rest of these pieces, who are nice but not necessarily big names, inconsistent, streaky, specialists to some extent. The majority of this roster, Curry and Draymond, along to some extent Andrew Wiggins and even Kuminga, have not been able to put this roster on their shoulders to play better than 1 game above 500 basketball. So again, right now, to me, what the Warriors have to do is endure. And that means that games like tonight are important to win. Obviously not a must-win game for the Warriors. We're in game 36 of the season. We're not even halfway home, which is crazy to think about. But when you look back at the end of the season on gettable games, this is absolutely one of them. And the Warriors have not had a ton of them, especially when you consider some of the teams that they have coming up during a 4-game road trip that begins on Thursday and then goes through next Thursday. They are going to have some teams that are beatable, but obviously much easier to do it at home. The Warriors are also coming off an 8 of 9 stretch at home and concluding a 6-game homestand. So it would be really nice to send them on the road into Detroit, who's playing better basketball, mind you, with some momentum before you run into Detroit, Indiana, Toronto, Minnesota, all 4 teams beatable based on the way that we've seen the Warriors play in the entire season. But again, on the road, those road games a little bit different, including kind of a jam-packed schedule because you get a back-to-back Thursday, Friday against Detroit and Indiana. Not sure if Steph Curry, for example, is going to play in both of those games unless they absolutely need them, and that's why tonight becomes important. You don't want to be in a position like the Warriors have been, I would argue, each of the past 2 seasons, but more so last year, where you're, quote, chasing wins, and that's something that Steve Kerr, actually in a piece that was written earlier today on ESPN by Tim Keown, it talked about the term that he brought around during, I believe it was the 2021 season, this idea of chasing wins. And the Warriors have been in that position more often than not, especially now a year and a half in. And that's not somewhere you want to be when your best player, who in the piece talked about how badly he wants to win a 5th championship, is desperate to compete for a title, is in. Because I think one of the main things that I took away from the piece, and again, ESPN.com, Tim Keown wrote kind of a feature story on Stephen Curry and where he's at in his career with the Golden State Warriors. To me, one of the big things about it was the Warriors trying to, manage this idea of playing Curry less and less because they're trying to have him fresh for the postseason. They're trying to manage that while also understanding that he is still by far and away their most impactful player. And on most nights, he's their best player. So how do you kind of balance the fact that you need him so much? The plus-minus stats would tell you that when he's on, he is still as good as ever, well, close to. And then when he's off, the team might struggle, certainly more than it did last season because of a lack of help around him. So how do you balance needing him at all times while also of course, trying to get him to just the beginning of the end of the finish line, which is the postseason. Curry's running his 16th marathon as far as his season is concerned. We've already, of course, been understanding of the knee tendonitis that he's been dealing with. We've seen the Warriors now sit him in the last two front end of back-to-backs, which includes potentially on Thursday in Detroit. So how are they managing Curry while also managing this team? And that's where, and we're going to talk a lot about this on Warriors Wrap-Up after the Warriors finish up against the Heat. Again, 7 o'clock tip, and Tim Roy's got you the rest of your network pregame at 6:30 at the bottom of the hour. But we're going to talk a lot about the front office's role in this, because I think that there's a lot to dissect as far as where Curry is at in his career, the position that they put him in, and the position that also, kind of in a two to tango situation, he has put them in, because I think it's all fascinating, and it's a big reason why right now they're 18-17. But again, they take on the Miami Heat tonight, who are a 500 basketball team coming off their own back-to-back. Up in Sacramento was a game that was very costly as far as minutes played. I'm sure a game tonight that the Miami Heat are going to be a little bit tired from, because they went to double overtime and lost to Sacramento, but Tyler Hero played 49 minutes. Bam Adebayo played 45 minutes. Highsmith, who was starting for them last night and has started for them over the course of this season, played 47 minutes. There was a lot of heavily taxed minutes. I think Jaime Jaquez, played close to 47 minutes in that basketball game as well. So the Heat's injury report is relatively short. Meanwhile, the Warriors' injury report is relatively long, but the Warriors should absolutely have the rest advantage tonight, and that should be a big reason why I believe they win this basketball game. Again, not a must-win, but one that in terms of the schedule is absolutely advantageous to the Warriors, and one that they have to get looking at a road trip in which you would like to be able to go 3-1, but without Kuminga, a back-to-back which might not include Steph, you might not be able to get a full cast of characters for all four of those games. And right now, the Warriors are in desperate need of victories. Again, that brings us to tonight's injury report, brought to you by Boxer & Gerson, Northern California's premier workers' compensation law firm, helping injured workers get their lives back for over 40 years. For more information, visit boxerlaw.com. All right, for the Warriors, 3 men are out tonight. Gary Payton II, who is having himself reevaluated over the weekend. I think he's going to be on the road trip, as is Pajemski, who is also out tonight against the Heat with an abdomen injury he suffered last weekend. And then, of course, Jonathan Kuminga, as we mentioned, he's going to be reevaluated in 3 weeks for a right ankle sprain that he suffered during the win against the Grizzlies. That was during the win against the Grizzlies. And that's why Kuminga is going to be out for quite some time, looking towards the end of the month, potentially, or the beginning of next month as a return date for him. Meanwhile, for the Miami Heat, Tyler Hero is questionable for this game at this point. Have not had an update on his status as of yet. A left knee contusion is what Tyler Hero was dealing with, but again, played last night. Actually, I think he had 26 points, was the leading scorer for the Heat against Sacramento in that game, in that loss in double overtime. Also, Josh Richardson is doubtful for tonight's game, probably not going to play. And those are the 2 men on their injury report for Miami. Obviously, Jimmy Butler is amidst a 7-game team-imposed suspension that began after Miami. So I believe this is Game 3 that Jimmy Butler is suspended for. Or pardon me, Game 2. No, Game 3. Utah, Sacramento, and then Golden State. So either way, they'll be without Jimmy Butler, Josh Richardson, and potentially without Tyler Hero, though I kind of think he's going to be able to give it a go tonight. The Heat in Miami, the Heat are a basketball team right now that, again, is struggling a little bit. And I think there's some areas that the Warriors can take advantage of them tonight, because I think Miami so far through in the last few games, one thing they have not done particularly well is shoot the 3 ball. And defending the three-point line overall for them this year has not been that strong. Kind of just at a glance, looking at them, they're 12th overall in offense, 12th in defense. They're a balanced team, 15th in terms of net rating in the association. They play pretty slow. They have the second lowest pace in basketball. And so that lends itself to kind of a slower game that I think actually benefits the Warriors. And part of that is because they've played with Jimmy Butler for a lot of the season. Butler at his advanced age plays a bit of a slower game, but they don't get up and down the way, for example, the Sacramento Kings or the Memphis Grizzlies do, and that's something that I think will help the Warriors. I think will help Steph Curry in particular. The Miami Heat are not an exceptional team, even with Butler this year, by the way. He hadn't had a sparkling season, though he had shot it well from the floor, 55%, but he wasn't filling it up. Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo have been their twin dynamic duo, and Tyler Hero's averaging close to 24 points per game, shooting over 40% from three, and then Bam Adebayo is averaging almost a double-double, 16 and 9.9 rebounds. So the one thing that they have been this year for the Heat is healthy. Hero and Adebayo have played every single game of this season. Another reason why I have an inkling that Hero, who's listed as questionable, is going to play tonight, because those two guys have pretty much led this team, and they're going to be the focal force that the Warriors are going to have to try and shut down. So Draymond Green is obviously going to be in and around the basket, where Adebayo does the majority of his damage, and then I would expect Andrew Wiggins to be the guy on Tyler Hero. The one sort of wild card in this game for the Miami Heat, and the Warriors have had some trouble stopping him in the past, has been Terry Rozier. And he's been a little bit better shooting the basketball as a starter, but overall the season has not been good from three, 30% from distance in his age 30 season, averaging 12 points per game. So, they'll have Duncan Robinson coming off the bench. Jaime Jaquez is a decent scorer who's been stepping into the starting lineup since Jimmy Butler has been suspended. But overall, this is a basketball team that doesn't do anything particularly well, but they don't kill themselves. This isn't a team, they're bottom 10 in terms of turnovers, so they don't provide extra opportunities for other teams. They also don't allow other teams to get to the free throw line. So they make you earn points, and they don't give you extra chances. And so that might be a way that they're able to get in this game and beat the Warriors, is because they don't hurt themselves. Where the Warriors, as we saw on Sunday against the Kings, absolutely hurt themselves with the amount of turnovers they committed, particularly early, falling behind. And as you heard Steph Curry say, they're not a team that is built to come from behind. And I have some thoughts more on that we'll expand on during Warriors wrap-up after the game. Again, 7 o'clock tip between the Golden State Warriors and the Miami Heat. Evan Giddings with you, and while we have a couple minutes left here on Warriors Live, presented by Xfinity at home or on the go, you'll get the fastest internet to all your devices. Live here at Chase Center. Let's get to our Take It to the Bank prediction, brought to you by Fremont Bank, full-service banking with no compromises. So with Kuminga out tonight, I know a lot of eyes might point to Wiggins and his total. I think they're a little bit juiced, at least from the prop perspective. I think that obviously they're going to need Wiggins and Curry tonight, but the player that I'm looking at is Moses Moody. And right now his over-under on points is 8.5. I think you can take that to the bank, because he's going to play quite a bit tonight. He played 26 minutes on Sunday, even with and now with Kuminga being out, I should say, he's going to get some more burn. So Moses Moody's been averaging 13 points per game. He's 12 of 18 his last 4 games from three-point range, so he's beginning to shoot it a lot better since he's come back from injury. And I just feel like this is a game where Moses Moody can play a bit more confident, and the Miami Heat are not necessarily going to have him on the scouting report. So if Moses Moody plays 25 minutes or even 20 minutes like he did in the win against Memphis on Saturday, I think getting over 8.5, again, 9 points, that would be where my eyes are for our Take It to the Bank prediction. As for the out-of-town game of the night, presented by San Francisco International Airport, wherever your team goes, you can get there from SFO. There's been a lot of good games as of late, but the other one that's at 7 o'clock is probably the best. Boston is at Denver. So Jason Tatum and the Celtics, who haven't necessarily been reeling, but they've been playing, around 500 basketball their last 8 games. Had a loss to the Sixers on Christmas Day, lost a tail end of the back-to-back to the Pacers, and then, of course, their loss over the weekend against OKC. I think they're due for a nice performance, especially in Denver, and a team that is coming off a back-to-back of their own against San Antonio. They've won 4 of 5, including an OT thriller where Nikola Jokic put up just some ridiculous numbers this weekend, even more ridiculous than usual. He had 46 on Saturday following a 41-point performance on Friday, that all of which against the probable, or at least odds-on favored, Defensive Player of the Year in Victor Wembanyama. So the Nuggets and the Celtics would be the game to watch of the night for them. Around the association, though, a couple of interesting matchups. To me, how the Dallas Mavericks are able to sort of, I guess, wade through this difficult time without Doncic and even now Kyrie Irving, who has got an issue with his back and is going to be out at least for a week, how they're able to sustain themselves during this stretch and win games is going to be interesting to watch, because as the Western Conference, of course, looks right now for the Warriors, they are looking up at quite a few teams. So Dallas might be a team that slips. Again, they've lost 5 in a row now without Luka and Kyrie. That's a team to watch. The Warriors might be able to catch a little bit and gain some ground, but again, they're dealing with injuries as well, specifically to Jonathan Kuminga. I'm also very curious to see how the scoring goes tonight for the Warriors. The Miami Heat are a team that will throw kind of janky defenses in and around Curry, zones. I saw 1-3-1 last night in Sacramento, and so how offensively challenged the Warriors will be without Kuminga is absolutely something to keep an eye on. But coming up next is going to be Tim Roy, who is live, as always, from Chase Center. He and Tom Tolbert have the play-by-play coming up for you at 7 o'clock when the Golden State Warriors take on the Miami Heat, again, here live at Chase Center. The finale of a 6-game homestand. 8 of their last 9 have been here before they hit the road on Thursday to take on both the Pistons as well as the Pacers on a tail end of a back-to-back. The Warriors have played, again, 8 of their last 9 games at home. In the month of January, they play 11 home games, which is tied with the Knicks for the most scheduled in this month, and that is certainly a good thing because in February they do not have a lot of home games. So we'll see the final one on this homestand coming up in just a little bit. Keep it locked here, all on your home for Golden State Warriors basketball, 95.7 The Game. My name is Evan Giddings. I'll talk to you after the game on Warriors Wrap-Up, as again we send things out to Tim Roy right now. You've been listening to Warriors Live, presented by Xfinity. At home or on the go, you'll get the fastest internet to all your devices.